Mrs. Witherspoon was very excited. The postman had just delivered a very interesting parcel. "It's from my nephew in London," she said as she quickly unwrapped it. "I wonder what it is." "It's one of those new video cameras. How wonderful!" Mrs. Witherspoon decided to try out her gift straight away and wandered out into the garden to film some of her plants growing. "Wow," said Milton, who'd been watching from behind his clock. "A video camera." Douglas could tell that Milton was about to have an idea and pretended to be asleep. "We can make a movie." "Oh dear," thought Douglas as Milton continued. "I'll be the director and the star, and I suppose I'd better be the writer as well." Milton hurried back to his clock to write the script. "Finished," he shouted. Must have had writer's block, thought Douglas. "It's called The Dog That Ate New York, and you, Douglas, get to play the title role." "I'm not really that hungry," thought Douglas. "It's about a giant dog from outer space who comes to Earth and frightens everyone," continued Milton. "It's got everything: action, drama, space monsters, car chases, explosions, you name it." It all sounded a bit too exciting for Douglas, but he agreed to help anyway. Mrs. Witherspoon had finished filming the garden. "I managed to get some very interesting shots of a sparrow," she told Douglas as she placed the camera on the table. "I'm just popping over to Mrs. Whittaker's for coffee," she said. "I won't be long." "Right," said Milton as soon as she'd gone. "Let's get to work. You grab the camera and I'll get the glue. We have a city to build." "There," said Milton when they'd finished. "An exact scale model of New York City right down to the last detail." "I'm glad I don't live in New York," thought Douglas. "Scene one," shouted Milton. "The alien spaceship lands on Earth. Places, everyone. Now when I shout action, you drop it. Rolling, and action." "No, no," shouted Milton, who was a very bossy movie director. "I need more feeling. Let's try again. Now when I shout action, you... Cut!" It was time to shoot some action scenes, and Milton added a spot of makeup to Douglas so that he looked more like a space dog. The car chase scene went very well, and the explosions using balloons full of flour were very convincing. Milton and Douglas were exhausted as they sat down that evening, ready to enjoy the world premiere of their new movie. Mrs. Witherspoon had invited Mrs. Whittaker and a few more friends round to enjoy her film about the garden. "Just wait until they see the dog that ate New York," whispered Milton. Mrs. Witherspoon switched on the video, but nothing happened. Just an empty, blank screen. "Oh, silly me," she said. "I've left the lens cover on." Probably just as well, thought Douglas. "I don't think I could have handled the fame."